There's a quiet ache in the soul that arises not from lack, but from disconnection. A whisper in the stillness that wonders, why does it feel like something's missing, even though I'm doing all the right things? I meditate, I visualize, I speak the affirmations, and try to keep my vibration high. But deep down there's a haunting question. Why isn't it working? Why does it still feel like I'm waiting for something to save me, to shift me, to fix what feels undone inside? We were taught to look up, to imagine God in the sky, in a distant realm, in a power outside of us, watching, judging, choosing when and if we're ready. That programming runs deep. Even now, after all the awakening, the study, the inner work, there's still a trace of that old belief that there is something above us we must earn, that we must prove our worth to the divine, that we must become better before we are allowed to receive. But here's the paradox that bends reality. The very seeking is what separates you. The very striving is what distorts your signal. Because God is not up there, God is not beyond you, God is not waiting to be summoned or pleased. God is not watching, God is witnessing through you, as you. The source is already embodied, already here, already breathing through your chest, blinking through your eyes, pulsing through your blood. Not apart from you, not superior to you, but woven into your being like light into the fabric of space. And the moment you stop chasing, you feel it, that sacred exhale, that holy stillness, that place where there's nothing to get, only something to remember. Because the reason it hasn't worked isn't because you failed. It's because you've been trying to reach something that was never far. You've been trying to become worthy of what you already are. It's like standing in front of a mirror, begging your reflection to appear, wondering why it's not showing up when you haven't yet looked. The frequency of control distorts the image. It adds static to the field. It tells your nervous system, I'm not safe unless I'm in charge. But you're not here to manage the mystery. You're here to merge with it. Because when you grip, you block. When you strive, you fragment. When you wait, you separate. The signal is coherence, and coherence doesn't come from effort. It comes from embodiment. When your thoughts, your emotions, your breath, your beliefs, your cells, all hum the same frequency. And that frequency is not wanting. It is not trying. It is not convincing. It is knowing. Knowing that you are not a body trying to find God. You are God, dreaming itself into a body, remembering its own infinity through your heartache, through your longing, through your awakening. And so the question is not, how do I get there? The question is, can I stop pretending I'm not already home? Can you stop performing divinity and begin embodying it? Not with grandeur, not with arrogance, but with quiet certainty, with the still power of a mountain that knows its shape, with the soft authority of a tree that doesn't rush its bloom. Because manifestation does not arise from need. It ripples out from resonance, from the embodied frequency of a being who remembers, I am not here to chase. I am here to channel. I am not here to earn. I am here to express. I am not here to become. I am here to be. And in that state of being, God is no longer separate. The sky is no longer distant. The field is no longer outside. It's all here, inside your chest, in the space between your thoughts, in the quiet pulse behind every breath. You were never meant to reach for the light. You were meant to realize that you are it. There's a moment, often in the quiet after the storm, when everything you've tried has failed to force the shift, that something deeper begins to open. It's not loud, it's not sudden, it's a soft collapse, a surrender, not the kind that gives up, but the kind that gives in. You stop striving just for a second. You stop fixing. You stop asking for signs with clenched fists and start breathing like the answer is already here. Because it is. Control is a survival strategy. It tells your nervous system, if I don't hold it all together, I'll fall apart. But what if falling apart is the only way through? What if the unraveling is sacred? What if the version of you that believes you must manage every detail is the very one blocking the miracles you're crying out for? You don't manifest what you manipulate. You manifest what you magnetize. And magnetism is not about force, it's about frequency. It's about becoming a clear channel, not a loud transmitter. The energy you send out isn't determined by your words, your rituals, your intentions. It's shaped by the quality of your inner state, by how safe your body feels to receive, by how deeply you trust the unfolding, by how willing you are to feel without running. And this is where most of us get tangled, because it's not just about belief. It's about identity. If you still believe you are a separate self begging the universe for favor, No amount of vision boards or mantras will override the signal of unworthiness humming beneath your skin. The field responds to what you are, not what you wish. It listens to your embodiment, not your performance. So the work is not to shout louder at the sky. The work is to soften into coherence, to align your breath, your heart, your thoughts, your emotions, your cells into one steady frequency of knowing. I am already one with the field. I am not summoning God. I am remembering that I am Him, not as hierarchy, but as essence, as source in form, as the wave remembering it is the ocean. Imagine this: a flower does not bloom by trying harder. It blooms because the conditions within and around it allow the natural intelligence to unfold. There is no begging, no rushing, no convincing, just presence, just coherence, just trust in the pattern that was always coded within the seed. You are that seed, and your manifestation is not a reward. It's a reflection, not of your effort, but of your energetic safety, your surrender, your alignment, because coherence is clarity, and clarity creates collapse. Time collapses, obstacles collapse, separation collapses, not because you pushed, but because you became the signal of your alreadiness. When you stop trying to become divine and start expressing your divinity in every breath, something clicks. The outer stops feeling like resistance and starts moving as reflection. Life mirrors you not to test you, but to teach you, to show you where you're fragmented, where you're doubting, where you're still outsourcing power to a sky god who was never out there to begin with. You are not manifesting from the outside in, you are projecting from the inside out. Your state is the lens. Your embodiment is the projector. Your timeline is not waiting to find you. It's waiting for you to become resonant with it. This is the sacred reversal. Not more doing, more remembering, not more control, more coherence, not more asking, more becoming. And in that becoming, in that steady breath of presence, the field responds, not with delay, but with immediacy. Because now you are no longer requesting reality, you are radiating it. There's a tenderness that rises when you stop pretending. When you drop the mask of control and let your heart tremble open, it's not weakness and it's power. The kind of power that doesn't need to prove itself. The kind of power that doesn't shout or strive or struggle. It simply is. And in that moment, that still, quiet inhale, you remember, God was never absent, only mislocated, hidden behind the veil of effort, buried beneath the noise of seeking, dimmed by the need to be good enough, spiritual enough, evolved enough to deserve what was already yours. We inherit so much distortion, from religion, from society, from survival. We learn to separate the sacred from the self, to believe in a God who is out there, watching, testing, deciding. And so even as we awaken, we carry fragments of that story. We manifest with pressure. We pray with desperation. We ask the universe to intervene as if it's a distant force, instead of a living frequency beating in our chest. But the observer effect changes everything. The moment you observe yourself as the source, not the seeker, your signal sharpens, your field stabilizes, your reality shifts. Not because the outer world changed, but because you stopped separating yourself from it. Everything you touch becomes part of the field. Every thought, every breath, every emotion, a vibration woven into the quantum fabric. And when those vibrations contradict each other, when your words say, I believe, but your body says, I'm afraid, the signal scrambles, the manifestation delays, not as punishment but as precision. The field can only reflect what is coherent, so the path is not to push harder, it's to attune, to bring your entire being into vibrational agreement, to let your identity match the timeline you desire, because that's what creates collapse, when the self and the reality are no longer separate, when the desire is not something you reach for, but something you remember you already are. Think about the last time you truly let go, not gave up, but surrendered. Maybe it was a heartbreak, a moment of grief, or a flash of awe in nature that silenced your striving. And in that stillness, didn't something soften? Didn't something open? That's the doorway. That's the access point. The nervous system unguarded, the heart-brain coherent, the frequency unfragmented, because God doesn't arrive through performance. God is revealed through presence. The question is never, why isn't it here yet? The question is, where am I still pretending I'm not already whole? Because the moment you stop needing, you start receiving. Not because you've detached, but because you've remembered. That need is the frequency of separation, and safety is the frequency of embodiment. You're not manifesting your desires. You're remembering the version of you that already lives them. You're collapsing time by collapsing identity, shifting from I want to I am, not as an affirmation, but as a felt reality, as a deep, cellular knowing. And that knowing doesn't come from words. It comes from vibration, from coherence, from becoming the field you used to chase. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you signal. So let the signal be truth. Let it be wholeness. Let it be enoughness. Let it be the quiet, unwavering hum of divinity embodied. And when you live from that place, when every gesture, every thought, every breath echoes that frequency, reality has no choice but to meet you there. There's a sacred irony in the journey. We spend so much time trying to reach the divine, only to discover it was never a destination. It was a remembering, a returning, a reversal of forgetting. And the forgetting wasn't your fault. It was part of the design, part of the human veil, the necessary amnesia that made the remembering real. Because what power is there in remembering something you never forgot? What transformation can occur if you never had to lose your way to find yourself again? This is the paradox of embodiment. You are already that which you seek, but the journey of becoming is still sacred, not because it makes you more, but because it makes you aware. Because it dissolves the layers of illusion, the masks of lack, of separation, of not yet, until all that's left is the raw, radiant presence of the divine as you, not above, not beyond, within. And the within isn't abstract. It's not a concept to understand, son. It's a frequency to inhabit. It's in the way your chest rises when you breathe without bracing. It's in the silence between thoughts when your mind finally stops running. It's in the grounded weight of your feet on the earth when you stop escaping your body and choose to be here fully now. Because God doesn't meet you in the striving. God meets you in the stillness. Not in the trying, but in the trust. Let yourself feel that. What if you didn't need to convince reality of your worth? What if your worth was the foundation, not the goal? What if you were never meant to climb a spiritual ladder, but simply unfold into the truth of who you already are? And here's the shift, the one most people miss. Embodiment isn't about becoming better. It's about becoming clearer, cleaner in your frequency, coherent in your signal, so that your inner world no longer argues with itself. So that your energy speaks one message, not 20 mixed ones. That's when timelines collapse. That's when synchronicities appear like whispers from your future self. That's when manifestations arrive not as rewards, but as reflections, not delayed, not denied, simply delivered in alignment with your readiness to receive. And readiness isn't hustle. It's not urgency. It's not perfection. It's nervous system safety. It's emotional congruence. It's the ability to hold the thing you say you want without flinching, without questioning if you're allowed to have it. You want love, but does your body feel safe in intimacy? You want abundance, but does your identity still hold lack like a badge of struggle? You want purpose, but are you willing to be seen, to be vulnerable, to let your essence lead instead of your strategy? These are the deeper questions, the ones most manifestation teachings skip over, because they're not sexy. They're not fast, but they are real, and when you get real, when you sit with the truth of where you're still fragmented, you don't shame yourself, you don't force healing, you witness, you observe, like the field does, like God does, without judgment, without pressure, just presence. And in that presence, the field begins to reorganize, the static clears, the distortion dissolves, not because you pushed it away, but because you brought it into coherence with love. And that's the ultimate frequency, not effort, not certainty, love, the kind of love that doesn't need proof, the kind of love that doesn't bargain, the kind of love that just is. And when you live from that, when you embody that, everything changes, because the outer can't help but reflect the vibration of the inner, not because you forced it, but because you finally stopped hiding from it. It's strange, isn't it? How the most powerful shift often begins not with action, but with a sigh, a softening, a breath that says, maybe I don't need to try so hard anymore. Not because you've given up, but because you've finally come home. Home to your body, home to the moment, home to the knowing that has always been waiting beneath the noise. You can feel it now, can't you? That quiet hum beneath the stories, the pulse of truth beneath the programming, the part of you that doesn't need convincing, only permission. Permission to remember what's always been true. You are not becoming divine, you are divinity becoming visible. And the more visible it becomes, the less you need to explain, the less you need to control. Because true power doesn't shout, it radiates. It doesn't beg, it magnetizes. So what does it mean to radiate? It means you don't chase timelines. You tune to them. You don't grip your manifestations like lifelines. You hold them loosely, like flowers already in bloom. You walk as if it's done, not in delusion, in frequency, because in the quantum field, time bends to the signal of coherence. Reality doesn't respond to your calendar. It responds to your embodied certainty, and certainty isn't loud. It's not theatrical. It's quiet, like still water, like gravity, like love that knows its place and doesn't need to prove it. You are not waiting for God to show up. You are the showing up of God, in skin, in breath, in heartbeat, in desire. That's why your longing matters, not because it points to what you lack, but because it reveals what you're ready to remember. Desire is encoded memory, not absence, recognition. When you want something deeply, it's not a sign you don't have it. It's a sign that a version of you already does, that in some dimension of the field it's done, complete, embodied, and your task is not to manufacture it, but to match it, to become the emotional and energetic match to your own future, not by pushing, but by aligning. This is why nervous system regulation is sacred, because a dysregulated body cannot receive, a fragmented state cannot create cleanly. You cannot channel God while bracing for danger. You cannot embody wholeness while abandoning yourself. So we slow down, we breathe, we soften, we stop running toward light and start anchoring it, in the body, in the moment, in the simple, radical act of being present without needing to perform. Because this is the real alchemy, turning awareness into embodiment, turning knowledge into frequency, turning insight into identity, and identity is the axis of manifestation, not what you do, but who you believe you are. If you still see yourself as separate, unworthy, unfinished, the field will mirror that, not to punish you, but to reveal you, to show you the vibrational gaps, to bring you back to coherence. But when you walk as the one who already is, when you breathe as the one who already holds, when you love as the one who already knows, reality has no choice but to meet you there, because it's not personal, it's physics, not magic. Mechanics, the mechanics of vibration, the mathematics of coherence, the laws of frequency that shape your world with more precision than your mind ever could. You are not manifesting with effort. You are remembering with energy. And when your energy becomes undistorted, when your signal becomes clear, you become undeniable, not to others, to yourself. And that's the moment everything begins to shift. It's wild how we think the shift will come with fireworks, with some grand epiphany that cracks the sky open. But more often it's something so small and so quiet, you almost miss it. It's the moment you stop waiting for the message back, the moment you feel peace before the money lands, the moment you catch yourself smiling, not because something changed, but because you did. And that's the secret the mind never wants you to know. You don't need reality to rearrange before you feel free. You need to become the version of you who doesn't wait on reality. That's coherence, not a mental trick, a biological state, a frequency that stabilizes the field around you because it's already stable within you. No grasping, no proving, just presence. And here's the truth that rearranges everything. Most people don't realize that their obsession with the outcome is what's keeping them separate from it. Not because wanting is wrong, but because needing fragments your signal. It says, this isn't safe yet, I'm not whole yet, I'm not him yet, and the field reflects exactly that. But when you drop into the body, when you breathe like it's already here, when you feel the emotion of fulfillment before the proof, when your nervous system no longer flinches in the face of uncertainty, you become magnetic, not because you forced alignment, but because you became it. You became the version of yourself that isn't chasing light, but transmitting it, not asking for signs, but moving as the sign, not searching for God, but revealing God through your being. This is why embodiment matters more than strategy, why presence is more powerful than pressure, because the field doesn't calculate your worth based on your rituals. It reflects your resonance, and resonance doesn't lie. So take a moment, right now, feel your breath, feel your body, feel the part of you that has always known, beneath the stories, beneath the conditioning, beneath the doubt, that you are not separate, you never were. God isn't watching you from above. God is watching through your eyes. God is the stillness in your exhale, the fire in your desire, the ache that wants more, not because you're broken, but because you're remembering how much more you are. There's nothing left to wait for, nothing left to earn. The work now is to align with what has always been true, to walk in the frequency of already, to embody the vibration of the version of you that isn't waiting for permission or validation or perfect timing. Because the moment you stop living like a seeker and start living like a source, the field moves, fast, instantly, not because you demanded it, but because you finally matched it, not in your mind, in your being. And this is how timelines collapse, not with effort, but with exactness. When your signal becomes so clear, so embodied, so undeniable, the universe has no choice but to reflect it, not as reward, but as resonance, because you were never here to chase, you were here to remember, to reveal, to radiate the truth that was never lost and only forgotten. And now there's space, a quiet, soft spaciousness where the panic once lived, where the grip once clenched, where the trying once twisted your energy into knots of urgency and self-doubt. This is the space where the truth can finally land. You are not a character in God's story. You are the narrator of your own. You are the lens, the light, and the love through which the entire universe perceives itself. Not someday. Not when you're healed enough. Not when it's all manifested now. Because the divine doesn't wait, it remembers. And your remembering, your return, is not about becoming something new. It's about shedding what never belonged. The masks, the mistrust, the myth of separation. You're not stepping into a higher version of yourself. You're stepping out of the costume of who you thought you had to be loved, to be safe, to be divine. And here's the quiet revolution. When you stop performing, the real you emerges. Not the wounded child trying to earn God's favor, not the striving adult trying to fix what never needed fixing, but the frequency of pure presence. The you that has never been touched by unworthiness. The you that doesn't beg life to work, but breathes life into every moment. This is the return to God, not as destination, but as design. Not as Father above, but as field within. Not as authority, but as awareness. And in this awareness, you stop needing things to happen in order to feel aligned. You are alignment. You are the calibration, the tuning fork, the frequency holder. You walk into rooms differently. Not louder, but truer, more relaxed in your skin, more at ease with the unknown, not because you have guarantees, but because you have embodiment. And embodiment is the bridge. It's the place where knowing becomes being, where belief becomes biology, where faith becomes frequency, where your future doesn't feel distant, it feels current, not a someday dream but a present vibration, and the more you live in that vibration, the less the outside delays, because you're not waiting. You're not signaling lack. You're not coded with confusion. You're clear. You're coherent. You're emotionally and energetically safe enough to hold what you once feared might break you. This is the key. Manifestation is not a mystery to solve. It's a mirror to polish. And the clearer the mirror, the faster the reflection. So don't ask when will it happen. Ask how clearly am I being it now. Don't ask where is it. Ask where in me is still pretending it's not already here. Because the field responds not to your longing, but to your living. And living as God doesn't mean perfection. It means presence, responsibility, radiance, the willingness to meet life from your center, not your wound. You don't have to know every step. You only have to become the one who walks them without fear. And that one, that version of you already exists, not in a distant future, but right here, waiting for you to soften enough, slow down enough, trust deeply enough to merge with it. You don't have to find the light, you only have to stop gripping the shadow, because the moment you do, the light isn't something you see, it's something you become. And so here you are, not further away, but closer than ever. Closer to the truth you've always known but couldn't always feel. Closer to the version of yourself that doesn't chase, doesn't doubt, doesn't fracture under the weight of the unknown, because she knows the unknown is her ally, her access, her home. You are not waiting for reality to deliver you a sign. You are the sign. You are not asking for proof. You are becoming the proof. With every breath, every softened muscle, every moment you choose presence over panic, coherence over control. This is not about pretending everything's fine. It's about embodying the truth even when it's tender, especially when it's tender, because that tenderness is holy. It means your heart is open. It means the signal is clear. It means the veil has thinned. You've collapsed timelines without even realizing it, not through rituals but through remembrance, not with vision boards but with vibrational alignment, Not by striving, but by choosing again and again to be the version of you who no longer waits for light, but radiates it. And now, the sacred returns to the simple. The miracle returns to the mundane. Because you don't need to seek signs when you understand that everything is one. Every delay, every silence, every detour was never punishment. It was precision, calibration, the field, fine-tuning your signal, waiting not for you to be perfect, but for you to be present. That's when the quantum opens, not at the climax, but in the quiet, in the soft exhale of "I don't need to force this anymore." In the holy moment, you stop begging reality and start partnering with it. There's no power greater than a human who remembers they are divine. No frequency more magnetic than a nervous system regulated by love. No prayer more effective than a life lived in coherence with truth. And you, yes, you, are already it. You always were. So walk differently now. Not faster, but truer. Not with urgency, but with trust. Not with pressure, but with presence. Let your timeline collapse under the weight of your knowing. Let the old you dissolve like mist under the rising sun of your embodiment. Because God is not up there. God is here in your hands, in your heartbeat, in your choice to stop chasing and start remembering. And the moment you fully remember, everything you've been waiting for will remember how to find you,